What's happening, guys? Left-handed Jeff back with you. Welcome to Quazzistellar. Today, we are breaking Baddax. Hey guys, Left-handed Jeff with you. That's a little riff from a tune, as you saw in the video, called Once in a Lifetime. If you watch the very first episode we did, I don't know, seems, what, 2-3 weeks ago, you'll notice that we have kind of made some changes, and so I wanted to kind of revisit this topic a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a little bit of a series of kind of what led me to here. I know that most everybody doesn't know who I am, so I kind of figure I fill in some gaps there for you. My name's Jeff Dean, and I go by Left-handed Jeff, as probably you know. I was in a band in the 80s and 90s called Baddax. This was basically my band. This was our last release here, the one that kind of got us on the little bit on the map anyway, from 1995. This is called Walking the Wire. And we were a three-piece guitar rock band. I did guitar and vocals. And we had one tune called Scramble Town that we got released. We went through the whole 9 yards with it. If you dig kind of deep on the internet, you can find some stuff about it. Pretty much what happened was this, and I'll just give you kind of the short version of it. In about 1990, 89, 90, I went to New York. I had my band Baddax. Baddax was actually my nickname throughout my lifetime because it was actually Little Baddax. But anyway, I was a little kid, and about 12, 13, 14 years old, I had a brother. My older brother was 10 years older than me. He was in bands, and so I would be there hanging out and jamming, just trying, the little 12, 13-year-old kid just going, let me play, let me show you. And I was born in '66, and Eddie Van Halen 1 came out in '78. So when I was 12 in '78, and now mind you, I'd been playing guitar since I was 4, and so I was pretty good already. I could pretty much play anything I wanted. I could tear up, any AC/DC song out there or whatever at that time. But then this Van Halen came out, and Van Halen 1, Eruption, oh my goodness, changed my entire life. And my brother was total Southern rock, not country, but Southern rock, bluegrass, stuff like that. Blues, rockabilly, Bob Seger kind of stuff. That's about his limit. And I turned him on to Van Halen. And I started digging a little deeper, and I got into some things like Jean-Luc Ponty and Tony McAlpine and Al Di Meola and some jazz guys, and expanding, my mind musically. Luckily, it got him to where he started really liking that stuff too. And so I would show up at their band rooms, and I'd be doing all these wild, like hammer-ons and stuff. And you're talking about guys back then that, the typical songs would be like, which is great, right? That's roots, man. I love that. But my little 12, 13-year-old self shows up, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, oh, cool, can I jam with you? Yeah, go ahead, dude. So they go into their riff. And all of a sudden they hear something like... and like on Back to the Future, it'd be like, okay, your kids will enjoy that. So anyway, and it's really funny because so they call me Little Baddax because it's like my guitar was just bad, and I mean it was a double entendre, and to me, it was an honor to me, so I kept it because your guitar is your axe, and so I took it as a compliment. But at any rate, to round that story out, and I will tell you this: as I've gotten older, especially, I've really come to appreciate really the slowing down on the guitar and music and the nature of it beyond that just showing off and all the flying wild stuff. I love all that stuff. I still do it, but I'm really digging deeper now. And so, that's just a little side note there. But back to the Baddax story. So of course, when I went to form my first band, that was mine. That was my project, not a cover band. I went through all of that. There was only one name it could be, and that was Baddax. And so I physically hand drew the logo. I didn't know computers back then. And I remember going to a guy's place the very first time and on a computer that I'd really ever even touched one. I thought I could break it, but anyway. And so I showed him what I had done, how I made the logo and all that. And so he recreated it, and that became the logo. And that's how it started. So about 1990, we ended up going to New York and started getting really serious about getting a label contract. We had already gained some regional success. We were written up in a few magazines here in Florida, where I'm from. Won a few awards, things like that. I'd won a bunch of guitar contests. We had been, traveling all over the East Coast. So we thought we were ready. So we go up there and we played quite a few good gigs up there. Had some really good things happen. And I'm going to kind of go back to something that I did in that episode, and I said I would finish the story out, but it's called the Harkey story, and I played a little riff called the Harkey riff and said I would tell you the story, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you the story, but let me just remind you what the riff is. Cool little riff, I love it. Simple. Straightforward. Now, we go to Harkey's place, right? So we're up in New York, and we have no money. We're living in a barn, and we're from Florida. It's cold. We have no warm clothes or anything, and this really nice lady, bless her soul, let us stay in her barn up in North New Jersey, and we're in there with like a kerosene heater, and we're so stupid that we didn't even know we had to have ventilation, and one night we almost killed ourselves trying to keep it warm, but different story for a different time. We're heading to New York every day, and we're trying to get signed, and we're trying to get gigs, and so we finally did, and we got a gig at the Lemoore East, which was a really coveted gig. And we got written up as the headline of the article said, the best new band in New York, ... is from Florida. And so we started getting some notice from a few different smaller labels that were out at the time, and I started pursuing them. I even created a pseudonym, David St. John's, and I was, my own little manager agent for a while until I got a manager out of it. So long story short, we ended up getting a small indie record label. We did our first project, Something New, in 1990. Came out in 91. The song that you heard, Once in a Lifetime, is off of that release. That's the one that got released off of it. Didn't get a lot out of it, but we did 2 other small releases and just kept grinding really hardcore, because back then that's the only way you could do it. No internet, whatever. And finally, we ended up doing a compilation show with Starship and Molly Hatchet and a few other bands that were not popular at the time, but still had enough of a name to get attention. And we got offered to go out to Foundations Forum in California, and that was MTV, Headbangers Ball, the whole 9 yards. So we go out there, did our set, and literally had Guitar Player Magazine interviewing us, and everybody else was just incredible. But I looked around and I saw that there was nobody like us out there. This was 1995. Early 96 rather, late 95, early 96. And I noticed that all the other bands it had gone from, like blue jeans, rock and roll t-shirts, kind of long haired guys, maybe an earring or two, but like, the 80s and 90s, what I'd grown up with. And we had stripped down the hairspray and all that because it was mid 90s. So we were kind of more of the, the regular looking guys, rockers. And I noticed everybody out there had black hair and half jean shorts on and long, flannel shirts and black painted fingernails, and there was no guitar solos. It was all just like 3-chord, very sad, very angry, angsty, and I'm like, what is this? And it's like, oh, that's grunge. That's alternative. That's what's, the wave right now. And so our record label, because we weren't really doing anything to speak of, our record label said we had to go to Japan. Now, my wife was 7-8 months pregnant with our first son, and I had a few friends of mine from Florida, heavy metal bands, that had went to Japan, and they said, hey, don't do it. They're like, honestly, it'll ruin your career and your life. And so my manager and I went and had a meeting with the company, with the label company, and we had to turn it down. And so on the way back, on the drive back from California to Florida in the bus and all that, the other 2 bandmates didn't really understand why we had to do it, and of course it didn't seem right to them at the time, and maybe it wasn't, but at any rate, it all kind of fell apart. And my wife was ready to deliver our son. I had to make a hard choice, and so I made the choice to go take care of my family, and I do not know how to do things halfway, so I couldn't find a halfway point for music, so I had to put it down. And that's kind of the end of what was Baddax, unfortunately. I do think that we had something that was special. You can go find some of the music out there. We were, odd, like I am, and we didn't fit any real category. And maybe the mistake that I made was that, the old saying in the music industry is you have to give them the same food. If they like AC/DC or whatever and they hear You Shook Me All Night Long, they want to hear Back in Black next. They don't want to hear Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the same album. And I'm just a real versatile listener. So when I write music and when I like music, it has to be versatile. It's all about emotion to me, and I have many emotions. Sometimes I want to be fun and goofy, and the music fits that. Sometimes I want to be sad and cry, and it fits that. And sometimes I want to be banging my head and getting out and thrashing with people, and the music fits that. And to me, the heavy metal, kind of the way it was going, and the grunge industry, it didn't fit me emotionally. So I just couldn't do it, because if it doesn't come from my heart, I can't really do it on the guitar. And that's just, to me, what music should be. So there's the story of Breaking Baddax, kids. And in case you kids need to know, one more time, here it is. Believe it or not, they're still out there. You can still buy them. We have an entire website in Russia dedicated to us. So there's that. And I told you about my VH1 special. Those ones called Where Are They Now? Ours was called Where Were They Then? That was just wrong enough to be cool. So guys, I think you know what the music means. I'm Left-Handed Jeff. Time to wrap this puppy up. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, make sure to click that subscribe button, ring that bell. That way you can keep up with everything Quazzistellar. And remember, new episode every single Sunday. And if you want to send us in your U2 segments, please email us quazzistellar@gmail.com or just leave your comment below with a link to the YouTube channel or to the YouTube video, and we'll take care of the rest for you. But I do need you to email me and let me have your permission to use it on the show, okay? So please do that. Send them in for us. Remember, we're 1,000 subscribers. We are giving away that Simmons drum kit. So tell your friends, tell their friends, and tell them to tell their friends, and get everybody over here. We're going to have a good time. We're going to rock and roll. What did I forget? Oh, that's right. You can take their toys that make their noise, but you can't change Mother Nature.